I completed the homework, as requested by the Silver Dragon Queen. But she also put forward new homework requirements for me. I had no choice but to continue completing the other assignments, as per her request. My daughters are curious about my mental state, and ask what happened to us. Because I couldn't tell them the truth, I had to answer them with white lies. After sending my eldest daughter to school, I discussed with my youngest daughter what we were going to do today. She saw my poor mental state and came up with an idea. Roswitha straddled Leon's body and gently twisted her waist. She enjoyed Leon's massage of her body very much, and felt her body slowly softening. Her cheeks slowly turned very red due to Leon's massage. She lifted her head and let out a comfortable sigh. She tightly embraced Leon's head with both hands to deepen this feeling of happiness. Leon also gently hugged Roswitha's body and slowly pulled her down onto the bed. Due to touching Roswitha's body too many times, Leon's blush gradually deepened. This scene made him feel very shy. After completing her massage as requested, he lifted his head and placed his chin on her fleshy and elastic twin peaks. He lowered his eyebrows and said to her with a pitiful look in his eyes, I have completed my homework. Is this okay?" Upon hearing Leon's words, Roswitha chuckled softly at him. She narrowed her eyes and gave a mischievous smile. She lifted her hand and placed it on her cheek, as if she was still nostalgic for the feeling she had just experienced. She believed that Leon's massage was not enough to satisfy her desires. She said to him, "Just now, it was just some pre-class exercises. Your real homework hasn't been submitted yet." Roswitha pressed her body tightly against Leon's body. She reached out and touched Leon's chest, slowly stroking it a few times. Then, she slowly moved her hand downwards and touched other parts of his body. Upon hearing Roswitha's words, Leon was momentarily stunned. He didn't expect that Roswitha was not satisfied with the status quo, and she planned to continue doing further things for him. He stared at her blankly and said to her, Is this okay too?" Roswitha placed his hand on Leon's chest and looked at him with affectionate eyes. Her twin peaks kept rubbing against his chest, as if hinting at him to quickly move on to the next step for her. Leon lifted his head and watched as Roswitha slowly approached him. Faced with her teasing, Leon gradually began to lose control. He silently said in his heart, "Damn it, I know this she-dragon wouldn't let me go easily." He gradually became attracted to her and the atmosphere they created. At this moment, a sentence flashed through his mind. The great dragon-slaying hero, Leon, is once again defeated by the she-dragon. In such an ambiguous atmosphere, dragon mark slowly appeared on Leon's chest. The dragon mark kept flashing with purple light, as if showing Leon's current mood. Leon lowered his head to look at his dragon mark, and continued to say in his heart, "Is it because of the dragon mark? My mouth is getting drier and drier." At this moment, Leon felt that something was wrong with his body. He opened his mouth and kept panting. He seems to want to relieve his dry mouth by breathing fresh air. However, this did not make his mouth feel moist. The more he breathes, the drier his mouth feels. My body also began to restless uncontrollably. This physical reaction guided his desire, making Leon increasingly want to do something to Roswitha. He sat up from the bed and slowly pounced towards Roswitha. Regarding Leon's behavior, Roswitha did not reject him. On the contrary, she reached out her hands and gently hugged his head, guiding him to fall onto the bed. The soft bed accepted two people who wanted to be entwined with each other. Leon pressed Roswitha under him, their bodies flush against each other. He reached out his hand and propped himself up on the bed to prevent him from getting too deep into the embrace of Roswitha. Roswitha placed one of her hands on Leon's head and kept caressing his head. Then, she tightly hugged his waist with her other hand and pressed him towards her body. Leon placed his head on Roswitha's neck and took a deep breath. The body scent on Roswitha made his body feel excited. Then, he gently kissed her neck and the area around it. How could Roswitha tolerate Leon's stimulation on her like this? The blush on her face was even redder than before. She lifted her neck and let out a comfortable sigh. Leon, you're a bad boy. Ms. Melkivi, isn't that what you want? Leon closed his eyes, reached out his hand, and gently hugged Roswitha's head, and increased the intensity of his kiss. Roswitha could hear Leon's kissing sound clearly entering her ears. This made her body feel increasingly excited. She couldn't refuse Leon's behavior. Roswitha could feel that her body was almost out of her control. She closed her eyes and enjoyed the feeling of excitement spreading throughout her body. She gently twisted her body, feeling the rising temperature of her body and Leon's body temperature. Her twin peaks trembled gently with her movements. She kept urging Leon to speed up, hoping that this feeling would last longer in her. That's right. Hurry up. Leon did not answer Roswitha's words. He pressed tightly against her body, adjusting the distance between them to a negative number. He tightly grasped her hand and inserted his fingers into hers. Roswitha could feel her body becoming very soft and comfortable now, as if it was about to blend into her bed. She seemed to feel like she had entered heaven. She shouted out in comfort. Ah! The two bodies overlapped like this, feeling each other's temperature and breathing sounds. After being tossed around by Roswitha for a while, Leon finally got to stop and rest. At this moment, he felt his body very tired. He leaned against the bed, closed his eyes, and let out a slow sigh. He lifted his head and stared silently at the ceiling of the room, lost in thought. His clothes have been taken off by him and thrown on the floor. Roswitha lay next to him and closed her eyes to rest for a while. Because she had also taken off all of her clothes, she could only simply cover herself with a blanket as a cover. Seeing that Roswitha was already planning to rest, Leon picked up the pajamas that had fallen under the bed and put them on. He closed his eyes and asked Roswitha while wearing his pajamas. Ms. Melkivi, my homework has been submitted. Can we finish class now? He has been tormented by Roswitha for some time, and he is both physically and mentally exhausted. He doesn't want to continue what just happened. He plans to leave her room. and returned to his own room to sleep. Just as Leon was putting on his pajamas and preparing to leave, Roswitha reached out and grabbed Leon's sleeve. She prevented him from leaving her room. Leon furrowed his brow and looked down at Roswitha's hand, slowly feeling a sense of unease in his heart. Roswitha opened her eyes and stretched comfortably. Unlike Leon, she didn't seem to feel particularly tired. She smiled mischievously and told Leon her next plan. The homework you submitted is only for one subject. There are still 6 subjects' homework that need to be submitted next. She gently twisted her body, revealing her snow-white twin peaks and thighs. The purple blanket vaguely outlined her slender figure. She seemed to be tempting Leon to continue accompanying her on the type of homework she had just done. Upon hearing Roswitha's words, Leon was once again stunned. To his surprise, Roswitha had even piled on extra homework for him. He stared blankly at Roswitha lying in bed, unable to utter any rebuttal. Ah? Ah! Leon let out a mournful wail. His cry echoed outside the Silver Dragon Castle, echoing through this dazzling starry sky. Tonight, his body is no longer his body, but a hollow shell. He could imagine that tonight would be another sleepless night.
Hi, LoloBun members! Pineapple will release a member-exclusive wallpaper this week. Viewers who have already joined the membership can download and use it for free. At that time, please pay attention to check Pineapple's posts in the posts.